Welcome to PintheQ Productions. If you are interested in the culture of the fire service and keeping tradition alive, you have come to the right place. Now sit back and relax with your brothers and sisters and enjoy the show. Be sure to like and subscribe on all social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. For more information on PintheQ Productions, visit www.pintheq.com.
Welcome back to PintheQ Podcast. We are in Seaside Heights, New Jersey, the land of sun and fun. That's what they call it, right? So as we were coming here, we noticed that it's not as busy today, I guess, because of the weather.
That's it.
Normally, it's like a...
Had a little front come through this morning.
Yeah.
So
it's
not going to be a beautiful day.
It's not 100 degrees today, so that's nice. If you're from Jersey, the last few days have been 100 degrees at like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little break. So what we're doing today is we're here with Tim Farrell at the Seaside Heights Fire Department, and we're going to be talking about water rescue.
That's that time of year.
We had an opportunity already to talk to your son. Pretty cool. Little Finn?
Yeah,
I
call him Finn, yeah.
I like that he's so enthusiastic about water rescue and about the fire department. I mean, obviously you had a hand in that.
Yeah, my dad's a waterman, so I kind of grew up on the beach, and my dad teaching me the safety tips as a young kid, and I kind of just installed that in mine.
So now you're passing that on too.
Kind of passing it on, and he's been growing,
right.
And he's really come a long way.
Yeah, because he's been showing up here since he's been like 10, right?
Yeah, since he was a young kid.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And he's always been a lifeguard, and he's a good waterman.
That's awesome. So this is new to PintheQ Podcast, and I wanted to change things up, so we're going to talk about water rescue, which we have not done yet. So you guys are the first, which I'm excited about.
Yeah, great.
I had known, my entire adult life that you guys are the real deal when it comes to water rescue. This is something you do quite a bit. And if obviously you're familiar with Seaside Heights, you know that there is a lot of people here, a ton of people here. So our viewers that are watching right now, if they're not from Seaside or they're not familiar with this area, explain a little bit to them about the diversity and how much you have to deal with.
Sure,
here,
from June, July, August, and then through, we get a great fall here. There's 16 blocks in Seaside Heights, and we get thousands and thousands of people who come to the beaches.
Right.
And since it is an amusement town, they hang around after hours. So you do have that from 9 to 8:30 at night. They stay.
Right.
It's nice out. They stay on the beach, so we do have that that large body of water that everybody loves. And,
right.
So it does present challenges to us with that much volume.
That body of water you talk about, though, I mean, it's changed quite a bit, correct?
Yeah. We talked a little bit about it this morning. The beach replenishment that we had last year really dramatically changed the water. There's a big trough. Normally people come down to the beach. They gradually go out at low tide, and that kind of went away last year. It's gradually coming back now, but it gave us a lot of challenges.
Right.
Yeah. And I was taught this, it's Mother Nature. once she gets you, that's it. She's not
Yeah.
going to let you go. So
Right.
it's you definitely take that serious, and we try to let the kids know that in town here with our grammar school. Also,
So you do
with
public ed?
yeah,
That's
we
great.
do that. We do that as well, and in the wintertime we talk about ice safety as well for the bay.
Wow, that's interesting.
So it's very important, and you know, it's just like anything else you learn as the years go on, and hopefully we get better doing that.
Now, do you do that during like fire prevention week?
We do.
Okay,
Yeah.
smart, very smart.
Yeah.
So that's something that you guys are doing. That's smart. I mean, you know, I wouldn't even have thought of that. But if you're not from this kind of community, you know, obviously the schools aren't talking about water safety that I'm aware of anyway.
Sure.
But I think that's good that you guys are, you know, forward thinking.
Yeah, we bring that down. We try to educate them when they come down. They see the big red trucks, which, you know, they love. They
Right.
also come into the water rescue room and they see the jet skis and the boats and whatnot.
Oh, so they come here to the firehouse?
They do. They
Oh,
come to
that's
the
awesome.
firehouse. We bring them through. We give them a tour, and you know, and we talk to them. If one kid could bring something home to their
Absolutely, yeah.
family, I think it
Absolutely.
goes a long way.
Because you know, Tim, you know the water tragedies that happen every year. You know, the swim pools, the bodies of water.
Yes.
So the fact that you guys are doing that pub ed and trying to get the message out to these kids is phenomenal,
Yeah, it's
and I
very
applaud you for
important.
that because
Yeah.
that's good. And I've not yet heard that other companies are doing that, so I applaud you for that.
Yeah, we do that a couple times a year, and we're doing a little bit more each year,
Good.
which is good for the community as well.
How tough is it being that you're in a community like this where it's seasonal, right? How tough is it to keep your membership?
Oh yeah, I mean across the board with you know, with families with mom and dads both having jobs and having more than one job, it's very difficult to you know, the volunteer organization in a whole. It's difficult.
Right.
And then to bring in not just the fire side, but the water side of it.
And it's additional training on top of your
yeah.
firematic training, right?
Well, that's it. I remember going through training 8 years ago, and a real great waterman going into a fire company, and his chief saying, "Hey, listen, I want you to make these firefighters water rescue guys." And he kind of looked at him, you know, and he said, "Well, that's going to be a difficult task. Not that it can't be done."
Right.
But it's definitely a lot easier if you have guys that know the ocean, know the tides, know the seasons. Hurricane season comes, you got ground swells coming through, tides in the bay, you got boats out there, sandbars, whatnot. So it's important, but it's a difficult task in this day and age, bringing folks in to you know, to get their time, which is so, you know, it's tough to find time to do anything.
And then on top of your firematic training, you're also doing water training once a week, correct?
We are. We train from June, July, August, September, October, every Monday, and then through the winter, we stagger it in for ice rescue training as well.
So on top of the firematic training that you're already doing here, as every fire company does, you're also adding in the water rescue. So you guys are almost operating as two different companies, correct?
Yes.
Would you say?
Yeah, it's just a different part,
Right.
similar to if you have an extrication team that's certified in extrication, that you know, that's your guys that you'd use. It's similar to the ocean side.
What does it mean to you to do this? Like, what does it mean to Tim?
Yeah, well, I tell you, I came into this company for the water side of it. The fire side kind of came, you know, to the side of that. Not that I wasn't interested in that, but
Right.
you know, this was my passion. Was on the beach for a long time and involved with different folks, and then the team that was here was the best fit for me coming in.
Right.
Equipment-wise, the crew here, the area that we cover, this is where I thought it would be the best fit for me.
And what's your role here at the fire department now?
I'm the captain here.
So you're captain of the fire department?
Yes.
Okay. And is that separate from the water rescue team, or?
Yeah, I'm the captain of the water side and,
Okay.
and the fire side.
Oh, so you're captain on both sides?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then do you have some members here that just, they're in Seaside, but like, yeah, I want to do it, the water rescue part of it?
Sure.
So would you
yeah.
just keep those guys on the shore?
Yeah,
And they help
and you
out?
know what? There's a job for everybody.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Right.
so the most important thing for when we get a call and there's a swimmer in distress, and I stress this to the guys, just because you're not going to be a rescue swimmer, it's just important to get this truck to the beach You need a driver. You need a spotter when you get out of the truck, somebody to keep an eye on your victim. You need a team to launch the boats or the skis. The equipment at nighttime, we have light, sometimes we have night rescues, and we had a slew of them last year. There's light towers that have to be brought.
And that's a whole nother set of challenges at night.
It's a whole operation. So just because you're not actually going in the water, doesn't mean there's not a job for you. So there certainly is for our firefighters that we have here. We encourage that all the time. We do have requirements for rescue swimmers and operators. You got to be able to tread water for a long amount of time unassisted. You have to be able to swim more than 200 yards unassisted. So there is a lot that go into just, okay, hey, listen, you can't just come and say, listen, I want to be a rescue swimmer.
Yeah, it's not that easy.
It's not that easy.
I was telling your son, I just recently became a swiftwater rescue.
Oh, sure.
So I went through the awareness, operations, and then technician.
Yes.
And when I went to tech school, it's different, man. When you get in that water and you start getting that current,
it's moving,
and you're trying to rig up lines and rescue victims and going after victims, and it definitely sets a whole new challenge for me. Anyway, it was all new to me, so it made me respect the water a little bit more, if you will.
Yeah, sure.
And it's not silly at my age, but it did. It made me respect it a little bit more and have a better understanding. Because before that, I really didn't have any interest in the water stuff. But the district I work for, like, hey, we're the water district.
Absolutely.
We do the water stuff. So no pun intended. It was like sink or swim. I wanted to do it. So I appreciate what you do, and I think that people watching, if they're not familiar with the water side of this, they don't understand or have a true appreciation of what you guys do. I mean, you can't just have someone come off the street, like you said, and become a rescue diver, a rescue swimmer.
It's just not safe, and going through, I remember, maybe my first or second day at the academy, it's like, they break it down for you. They do a really great job, but, you come first, your fellow firefighter comes first. And, we've had that situation in the water.
Really?
Sure. Or we had first responders who would go out for a victim, and we wind up bringing them in, and then going back out for that victim. So they, guys come in and see that. Right. And some guys that are great, great firefighters, they'll give it a shot, and they'll get in there and they'll say, you know what, this just ain't for me. But there's certainly other jobs for them to do.
But that self-evaluation, I think, is important. When you realize that maybe this isn't the part of the team you're part of, but you're still part of the team.
Oh yeah.
That's important. That self-evaluation, because you don't want to get someone else hurt if you can't handle it.
Yeah, we had a barge explosion off the coast, and they're sitting 4 to 6 miles off the beach here, and that makes you think twice about getting on a jet ski and going out there to a barge explosion. And if it could happen, it happens in this area.
Oh yeah.
So
if it happens, it will happen at Seaside.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the crews coming in, they see that, just because you're not going in the water, that whole setup just to launch our apparatuses, it takes a lot, because you've got hundreds of people on the beach.
Right.
You're trying to crawl down that beach, and people, they don't move even though you got lights and sirens coming in. So just to clear that area, to do that, the fire police end of it, and it's just, there's a lot that goes into it.
Bring me back to your very first rescue ever. How old were you? Remember?
Let me think. I was probably maybe 15 years old. Little Grom surfing at J Street in Seaside Park. The guards were just getting off, I remember. And earlier in the day, they kept people out of the water because it was pretty rough, and we just had, I think it was Hurricane Bob went off our coast. And it's funny because this is all coming back to me. There was two young kids stuck in a rip, and I remember an older woman had been watching them, learning this later, and she came, and I was leaving the beach with my board. I had a surfboard. I was leaving the beach after surfing, and I was drained. I remember surfing, that whole day, and she's tugging on my shorts, and I'm trying to figure out, why is this lady tugging on my shorts there, this older woman?
Right.
So words weren't coming out, but she was pointing out so I kind of looked down, and I saw kind of what was going on. Instincts just kicked in. I paddled out. And I remember going over a couple swells and seeing ahead, and the other kid kind of making it over into the impact zone and kind of getting pushed into the sandbar. I took a couple on the head, paddled out. I lost them because of the swell. I kind of panicked, thinking I'm going to lose this kid. And he was literally, I don't know, 10 feet from me. And I remember his green shorts. So I kind of just picked, he was light, real light. I picked him right up, put him on the board, and he death gripped that board. You know, and I said, "Oh, you're good, man," you know? And I'm thinking, now I got to get him through, you know, we're outside now.
And you're 15. You're 15
yeah,
years old.
15-year-old kid, you know? And I said, "You're good, you know, you're good." And I think I was calling him little man. And I was a little guy myself, you know? So I picked him up and I paddled through, and I'm thinking, oh man, I hope I don't take this on the head on the sandbar once we get to the inside. But I was able to get to the inside and kind of scooted through and got him on, and his mom came through, you know, and she was kind of like shocked. She was in shock, and I was like, "Oh no, it's all good," you know. I was kind of smiling.
Yeah.
The other little guy made it in, and he's yelling at his friend, and his mom's yelling at him. And I kind of just walked off. And I remember going home and telling my parents, you know. And
do you think
like,
that's
wow.
Do you think that kind of planted the seed?
You know what? It's funny you bring it up. I think about that often. You know, I think it did.
Yeah.
You know, so that's interesting. You bring that up.
Yeah. At 15 years old, you know, you figured that had to be the spawn of all this, man.
Yeah, because you know, at 15, you're kind of into that. You know, am I going to be an adult now?
Right.
Am I still going to be a kid?
It's
you know?
the pivotal crossroads.
That
man.
is, yeah. So it was right around there, you know, and I always remembered that because I tell the guys. Training, I kind of throw something at them every so often, and I explain to them, if you're coming to the beach after hours when the lifeguards are going home, that sun's setting to the west. Okay, what happened with that parent was she kind of set up her chair. Mm-hmm. It was after work. She came down. I'm sure she was getting that sun from the west. She got her back to the ocean. The kids were kind of playing around. They got swept out. And that happens a lot here.
Right.
You know, you get after hours. You don't have to pay to a lot of beaches. After 5, people come in. They're facing the west. The kids are playing behind them. So I tell the guys, they come, you know, if they get home from work, you know, we got a phone chain that goes, hey, we're going to go for a swim. We'll swim the buoy and back or whatever. I say, if you're down here, keep an eye on the beach. Because that time of night, that's when you get your most rescues.
Wow.
Early in the morning or later at night when that sun's set.
And you didn't even mention the fact that, you know, not only are you doing ocean rescues and all that, but you also are looking for missing kids often too, right?
Yeah, it happens.
You know,
it
so
happens all the time.
that's a whole nother, you know, part of the beach environment, if you will.
Yeah, it happens all the time, and it's just an extra something that goes into the water safety. I mean, we get crazy calls whether it's the Bayside. We had a jumper last year off the bridge at night. We went out there with the Zodiac. We've had, you know, fishermen on Island Beach on the jetty that in the fall their gear, their waders get filled with water, and then they're stuck. Or you got fellas that go out on the sandbar, they're not watching the tide, and then they can't get back in. So we get all, you know, different kind of calls with lost kids and fishermen that have problems, cars in the water, all kinds of different things.
It's cool though. I mean, you have all these different varieties of calls. It is challenging, and I think that's what, you know, firefighters, I think we all have that type A personality. Yeah. So always looking for that next challenge, if you will, you know, and it's cool that you guys are all presented with this. Yeah. So tell me about walk me kind of through the way it is here as far as your members. So you have a guy comes up to you or a girl and they say, hey, I want to get on the water rescue team. What do you say to them? Before they even start, what do you say?
I say, you know, I ask them a couple questions. I ask them, you know, obvious questions. Do you swim in the ocean? Because swimming in the ocean is a lot different than, you know, you get pool swimmers. You know, I've guarded years ago with pool swimmers, and it's different than, you know, when you're swimming in the ocean. But I give them that opportunity, of course, to come down, train with us. They get the first drill they come in, they kind of sit and watch and get an idea of what we do. Right. And if they're still interested, then, you know, they're going to get in a suit and they're going to get in the water, and we'll give them that opportunity. And then with that process, they see that, okay, hey, listen, I could be a spotter with binoculars. I could help launch the apparatus. Maybe I'm a driver. I could drive something with an apparatus on the back of it, which is another deal, because you got, you know, when you're working, you got an officer working the radio, you got a driver, you got a team in the back. We're listening to command. We're listening to our chief when he gets there. He's going to give us information. So there's a lot going on that they can figure out, hey, maybe that's my role.
Right. And I like earlier that you said that everyone has a role.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like the fire ground, everyone has a role in fire ground. This is a different animal, I think, though.
Yeah.
You know, this is like, you have to kind of know your limitations. I guess it's the same as the fire service.
Absolutely.
You know? It's all the same, but this could be intimidating for some people. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, and they know we get, you know, when the pagers go off, we get our active 911, and you know, they see multiple swimmers in distress, or they see, you know, swimmers in distress, or they see a submergent or whatnot. It's the real deal. So we're going, every minute's going to count from the time we leave to get here, to get our stuff, to get on the road, to get to the site. We're going, you know, till we, you know, we either make that rescue or determine if the victim's out of the water or not.
How many rescues would you say you do on average per year?
Yeah, well, we're only, we're into July.
Yeah, just about almost in August.
So we've had a number of calls already. So at the end of the year, we'll have 20 calls, and those 20 calls, you know, you might have multiple people involved.
Right.
You know, and then once the end of August comes, in September, you got hurricane season comes, ground swells, you got guards that aren't working anymore. That's when it really gets challenging.
Right.
And it's very dangerous. So every time we enter that water with a ground swell and it's 6 to 8 foot and it's hitting on the sandbar, and we have to have the right amount of team to go out and make a successful rescue. And keeping these guys active every Monday and keeping them swimming during the week is very important.
I was just going to say that I think a lot of that commitment has a lot to do with the training.
Yep.
And staying on top of your training and making sure that everyone's proficient in what they do.
I'm sure these guys at the end of, you know, Mondays, sometimes they want to kill me because I go over things over and over for muscle memory.
Yeah.
But when they're going to launch a ski, they're going to go out, they're going to get the victim, they're going to put them on the board, they might have to change, something might go wrong.
Right.
And like in the fire service, you know, you want to get at, not just your chief is doing a size up, you know.
Right.
You know, you want to get off that truck, you want to do your quick size up. If you're making entry in the front door, you want to know where windows are and whatnot. If you're going interior, just like a water call, you want to look at that tide, you want to see where it is, you want to see where the swell's coming from. So you want to enter the water on a 45 to get to your victim. You're kind of doing a size up, very similar.
Right.
So that's kind of what they're looking at. So when they go out on the rescue, you know, that training, it's going to kick in, it's muscle memory, it's just going to happen. And I think they seen that at the end of last year, some of these guys, when we got really busy and it was rough and it was dangerous. I think that just came second nature to them, and it's important like anything else.
Have you had members come back to you after that first job, if you will, for them and say to you, "Wow, man, this is like the real deal. This is."
Yeah, and it's tough because, you know, you might have a recovery. You might have a fatality.
Right.
And that's going to stick with them.
Right.
So it's kind of getting back in, and it's, hey, this is what we do. We move on from there.
Have you had to coach members that have been involved in that type of situation
sure.
and try to get them back in the swing of things?
And I have mentors myself, you know, that I've been involved in, and I know you're involved in it.
Yes.
It's fantastic, and you know, that's why, you know, when we talked. You know, hey, listen, if we could put that out there and keep it out there for the brothers, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, listen, I appreciate you inviting us down here to Seaside
great.
into your home and to get a glimpse at we're going to check out some of what you got going on.
Super.
Thanks a lot, bro.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're out here on the beach in Seaside Heights. We just had an opportunity to watch these professionals do what they do for real out here. And I gotta tell you, seeing it firsthand really makes you respect this water, this body of water, quite a bit. You know, we had an opportunity to talk before we went out here and kind of get a feel of what was going on by Tim and the crew here. And what I noticed about when we first got out here, you guys are doing what you do. This is just training for you. This is what you do. I mean, you guys take this serious. I know that from the time we got out here, you took this serious. But what I noticed from watching from the outside was all the people on the beach all started congregating and watching what you're doing, interested in what you're doing. And I watched a couple people like shaking their head, you know, like, wow, you know, they get to see this. So in most cases, not everybody gets to see what you do for training. So I thought that was pretty cool, looking from the outside, seeing the people on the beach kind of looking at what you're doing, like, wow, this is cool. If something happens, there's professionals here. You know what I mean? That's pretty reassuring. That's for a mom and a dad on the beach with their kid. I'm sure that you know, gives some credence to what you do. So you were on the jet ski again, right? So what's going through your head when you first get out on the beach and you get that call and you have to get on and launch that jet ski? Like, what's going through your head when you look out there? Because it's rough out there, man.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind, you know, is just, you know, where my victim's at, how many people I have in the water, you know, and especially with a current like today, you know, you got that north current, you know, pushing towards the south. So you got to take into account where they possibly could have gone in the water, how far they're out, you know, are they still on a rip? Is the rip still kind of taking them out further?
Right.
You know, everything's taken into account of, like, you know, who's going to be on the back, who's going to be my rescue swimmer, you know, or driver. You know, we all congregate with drivers as well, you know. You know, so we definitely have to take into account what the ocean's doing. That's why we always preach in our drills, you know, no ocean conditions, know what the swell's doing at all times, you know what I mean? And then, you know, we got them in safe. You know?
What I liked a lot about what you're doing is the fact that although it's training, it's a drill, we know that going in. Like, I saw it firsthand. Like, as soon as you guys were getting into this, I watched every one of you in the back of the truck, like getting ready, like you were already motivated to do this, knowing it's not a real victim out there. But you're like, okay, I saw everybody had like that urgency in their step, you know, which was awesome. Now, brother, you are in the Coast Guard.
I was, yes.
In the Coast Guard, so you have a pretty good appreciation of the water.
Yeah, I think a healthy fear is necessary. Respect and understanding of the water.
So as you're out there as the victim in this case, right, and you're watching your rescuers come at you, you know the backstory of what's going on here. But tell me and tell our viewers what it's like to be a victim watching these rescuers come at you. What kind of feelings do you have?
I think it's weight lifted off your shoulders. You know, within under a minute, especially with our team, we're going to get out there, and I know I'm going to be okay. With the current dragging me south, the waves hitting me on the head, depending on the water temperature, if it's cold, it's going to constrict my lungs and make it feel worse. So when I see that van roll up, I know I'm going to be okay, and it's only a matter of time until I'm going to be brought to the beach safely.
How was the instructions for you? Like, when you're out there and you're getting instructed by the rescue swimmers right behind you, we're going to speak to her in a minute. When you're getting those instructions from her, like what you need to do, what's it like for you? What do you think it's like for the victim to be in that position?
I think it's a little scary because someone's telling you what to do, giving you orders when you're in a situation where you could be panicking. But it's also reassuring because this person knows what they're talking about. They have that authority in their voice, and they know. With them giving me direction, I don't have to think. Right. I can just follow direction, and they'll save me.
And being a rescue swimmer, what's that like for you? Like, motivating yourself to get out here. Like, when you get on that ski and he's wheeling it, what do you think?
Well, when you know that someone's out there, you got to get them, you know, and everything like that. Had a lot of communication between the two of us and everything. Even when we were just setting off, one of our other guys actually said that he had eyes on our victim, so we knew at all times where the victim was and everything like that. And it was just good communication overall. I mean, that's what really like brings us to be a good team. Without that communication, it wouldn't happen.
Would you say that the amount of training that you do here helps to get other people involved?
Absolutely.
Other people see what you're doing?
Absolutely, 110%.
How long have you been on the team?
It's been about 3 years now.
Okay.
So I started, about July of 2016.
What do you think about it?
It's awesome.
Love it?
I mean, it's aside from like being in the fire department and everything else, it's just we're out here helping people.
Awesome.
You know, that's what we love to do.
And what about you? I mean, obviously you were in a Coast Guard, so this is, the water's kind of your home, right?
It's my home. I grew up in the water. I grew up with a lot of these guys locally, and to get the camaraderie and get the training back, it's something I've craved, and just the brotherhood. that we have together, the teamwork, hanging out before and afterwards, is a great feeling I wouldn't trade for the world.
That's awesome. Hey Tim, come on in real quick. So as we talked to Tim earlier, he's the captain of the fire department and also captain of the water rescue team. Tim, I appreciate you having us out here. It means a lot to me, and also all the fans here at PintheQ getting to see what you do.
Yeah, thank you.
Taking time out of your day to show us this stuff. What is it like for you to stand here on the beach, watch your crew, because you were standing watching, right? I was watching you watch them, right? So I have my own feeling of what happened, but tell us what you thought about what you see here today, like when you see it all put together. Like
Sure. I mean, we train this. We talk about muscle memory, doing it over and over again. Like I said, they probably want to kill me some drills of doing this over and over, but it's important. The anticipation, you know, I want to be doing it for them, but I preach to these guys all the time. You know, a line officer, a captain, a chief, they can't always be here.
Right.
So the training that you do and what we do and the time we put in will make rescues like this mock rescue become reality when there's an actual victim in the water. You know, I'm proud of these guys. We start in June early, and the time September, October comes and we get ground swells coming and the 6 to 8 foot waves are banging off the bar, they're going to be ready to do the job. And that, you know, and that's what my goal is to. I don't have to be here. I don't have to be in the water. They're going to be able to do it on their own, and I'm seeing that.
Awesome. Thanks
I'm
so
proud
much.
of them.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you so much, man.
You
This
do a
is a
great
great
job.
opportunity. All right, well, here you have it. Seaside Heights, New Jersey, on the beach, watching the true professionals at work. So what type of things do you, what's going through your mind when we're going to calls?
The amount of people that are in the water, what we're going to be using, making sure that everyone has like their PPE on and everything, and then just like devising a plan. Like everyone, whoever's in the front seat is normally going to be calling everything out, and then we just get it in our heads like what the plan's going to be as soon as we get off.
How challenging is it sometimes getting through traffic here at Seaside?
Well, July 4th is a pain. Ocean Terrace, depends if it's like a weekend or not, is normally very busy. But otherwise, during the week, it's not so bad.
So when you're responding to calls, like on the weekend, per se, how difficult, how challenging is it once you get at the call to get to where you have to get to with the people?
I mean, it's a little bit challenging, but we always have a good driver that's always driving and everything like that, so they get us to where we gotta go and everything like that.
What about you, man? What experiences have you had so far on the team?
On the team, I just joined
Okay.
this latest season. I was in the Coast Guard, so I have a lot of experience with ocean conditions and dealing with boats and fast search and rescues. But we train at least once a week. The biggest thing we got to know is the beach entrances, the surf conditions, what it's like out in the ocean, the rip currents. And with the dredging, it's changing. You know, this summer and depending on the storms and swells coming through, it's important to keep up to date.
How different is this from the your training at the Coast Guard, or is it the same?
It's pretty similar. The intensity's just as high. The communication and the hand signals are all very close to the same. It's important to keep that similarity, so if we're working with different units, the Coast Guard, different departments, that everyone knows what each signal means and we can communicate effectively.
That's awesome. I think it's good that you're able to bring your experience to the Coast Guard here to the fire department. Have you saw that as an interest to others?
I think so. I think it's always good to know something someone else doesn't. You never know everything, and if a bunch of people could come together and bring their water knowledge together, you can have a really effective team and get the job done
Awesome,
efficiently.
man. Thank you. So we had an opportunity to talk to a couple of the members here that were involved in a pretty serious rescue, so we're going to tell that story. Tim was telling me earlier about that rescue they had made, and I'm here with the 3 people involved in that rescue. So Tim, why don't you start us off and tell us about what led up to that day?
Sure. We were actually back to our fire drill night on a Tuesday, It was nighttime, and we had acquired structure on Bay and Hamilton, and these two guys were doing roof ops. And it was a hot night, September. It was still warm out. And these guys are working their butt off, cutting holes in the roof. And they went through a couple blades. I actually was the one that going back to get them another saw. I came around. I thought I was doing it pretty quick, and I came around the truck, and these two are yelling at me. I see them kind of yelling. I said, "I'm coming as fast as I can." These guys. Quickly, I found out that they're yelling at me that there's a water rescue. Two swimmers in distress. So we jump in a truck back to the firehouse. It was like a yard sale. These guys taking their gear off, bunker pants, gloves, hoods, helmets. They jump into their suits, jump into 4426, which has a jet ski rescue can on it, and we proceed to the beach. It's off of Blaine Avenue, and we're listening to our chief, who's got eyes on the first victim, and he's telling us to pick up the pace. So right there, we knew it was
legitimate job.
It's a legitimate job we're going to. And like water rescues, you get that call, you got swimmers in distress, and these guys know every minute counts. So we're pushing on the beach. We throw it in four-wheel drive. We're ripping down the beach. It's dark, so there's a swell, and we've got that trough from the dredging operation. So we know these guys going in know that there's going to be a drop off, so they're not going to be able to stand, and they're treading water, and that's what we're getting into. The backstory of it is we have earth cam up on the boardwalk, and later on we listened to the tape and listened to the dispatch lining up. Right before we got dispatched, you could hear the crying for help.
Wow.
In the ocean. Very eerie, listening to it now. So we got there as quick as we can, and luckily we were drilling that night, because I'm sure there would be 2 fatalities. The chief asked for a rescue swimmer with a can. So Nick jumped out of the truck. He got his can. He did his swim around, 40, 50 yards out. Originally, the person was only 10 to 15, 20 feet out. He was getting ripped out. Nick, you could go ahead and tell the story from there, and we'll fill in Hunter and myself after that.
Yeah, chief calls for a rescue swimmer with a torp. First thing in my mind is, how far the victim's out, how many victims we got in the water. It's all kind of going through my head. And so when I, got the torp, ran down the beach, full sprint, already completely gassed from the drill prior, but kind of took everything I had in me to get in the water. It felt a little bit better once I got into the water, to be honest. So made my swim, and it's pitch black dark out, and it's like 9:30 at night, and I had just surfed it a few hours before, and so it was still like 4 to 5 foot swells coming in, and I just remember all the lights on the beach and me swimming through the swell, and just the amount of water that was covering the light was just like it would go from light to dark to light to dark, and I could see this guy looking at me, and then I could look at him, and then I would yell to him to hang on, and finally got to him, secured him, and asked if he was good. He was okay, but
was he relatively calm?
He was relatively calm. I could see a little bit of shock. I call it the cartoon eyes. You know what I mean? When it's like when they don't kind of know where they are, what's going on. But he was pretty with it. The only thing was that he, when I got to him, he told me that there was a girl with him. Ooh. And I was like, I was looking around, and I didn't see any girl. So my heart kind of dropped there, you know what I mean? And so I was looking around, and I screamed. I remember screaming to them on the beach, like, we got to launch the ski because we got another victim. Thankfully, thank God, she managed to get in, which I didn't know till afterwards.
And he didn't know.
Yeah, he didn't know. Thank God that she may have gotten a little bit of the sandbar, and made her way in, and so she thankfully was okay at the beach. So I was like, okay, just tried to focus on, and I had to focus myself back in on, just getting one person in at a time, and we'll go from there. So I start, making my way in, and noticing that this rip is just taking us farther and farther, and it's really, really working. And thankfully, Tim swam out too. He just came out, just free swam out, and he's checked on me if I was good, and checked on the victim.
Now, at this point, you guys just have PFDs on, or do you have?
I actually was in a pair of cargo shorts and just my rescue vest.
Okay.
He was in board shorts, and that was it. He didn't have
Wow.
a vest on, nothing. I had a rescue torp with me when I made entry into the water, but he proceeded to swim out. So then we worked on trying to get him in, but the rip went from probably, and I kid you not, probably a block long to about 3 blocks long of just rip.
And it's a lot. That's a lot of space for water.
Absolutely, and it's a lot of space for water to run through, and it was amazing to me how much it actually spread within such a short period of time. So we were working on getting him in, and we weren't having any luck. So thankfully with the training that we have, Hunter knew to launch the ski.
They were in the
yeah.
mode of, and this is muscle memory.
Right.
You go out, you secure the victim, you follow up with your ski, and you bring the team in. And that's exactly what we had. And there was a lot of chaos going on. There was a lot of different people on the beach. There was, people coming off the boardwalk to see what was going on. But the guys that were on the beach, Hunter was smart enough to keep going. Although the victim was secured and we had him, he knew that rip was ripping bad. I remember the waves breaking on both sides of us. We tried to swim him to the parallel to the beach, to the right, to the left, 100 yards to the right. We were out there a good amount of time. He was able to launch the ski and 5-foot shore break, punching through that initial, and I had a relief that he was coming out.
Yeah.
To grab us, because I knew it was going to be a tough rescue. As soon as we entered the water, the first thing was to get that fella up on the torp that you had him on, which he did a great job, get his head above the water, and then we waited for the ski after we were spent swimming, and he did a fantastic job.
Hunter, what was that like for you to I mean, first of all, it's dark out, all right, and you're in the ocean. So what was that like for you to be on that ski trying to get out there?
It was kind of eerie at first, but your training just kicks in. You're there for a job and just focus on that task at hand and try to get it accomplished without anybody losing a life.
So you're just using the light that you have from the moon, right? I mean, that's literally all you have.
Yep.
A couple spotlights.
Yeah.
That's it.
So once you got out there on the ski, what did you have to do at that point? Where were you at?
Well, when I was launching, I noticed that Tim was getting dragged out further, so I went around to him, picked him up, so that way if we needed assistance putting the victim on the board, we had it. Grabbed him, came back around, waited for a couple sets that were coming through to die down, and then we picked up Nick and his victim.
What was the? Do you remember what the victim was saying at this point, or doing?
Nah, not really. I was just focused on watching the water, the waves, make sure nothing happened to the ski, and doing my thing while they were doing their thing.
Well, listen, it sounds like that, you were a pivotal part of that rescue, being out there, being able to get that ski launched the way you did and get out to him. I mean, he's got the victim on the torpedo, and you're right there. It's awesome you guys all work so well together. Would you say, Tim, that has a lot to do with the training and the emphasis on training and the muscle memory you speak of? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. It came down to that night, and not only did it save one life, it was 3 lives. I mean,
right,
when you look
right.
at it, he had 3 victims on the back of that sled.
Absolutely.
In poor visibility. So he was just going with which I believe is training, and got everybody in safely.
And this was a life-saving award, correct?
Both these guys got life-saving awards for it.
Congratulations, guys.
With a couple
Thank you.
others saves that they had last year.
Yeah.
But that was a difficult task at night.
That's great. So again, we talk about training all the time on the show, and about how important training is and how important it is to stay focused on your training. And this is a perfect example of paying attention to your training and doing exactly what you're supposed to do. Keeping on top of new training, I think, is also important too, because in this job of the rescue world, everything's always evolving and changing.
It's easy to get lackadaisical.
It certainly
in the fire service.
Yes.
whether you're battling fires interior,
Right.
or you're going to the ocean, it's easy to get lackadaisical. So it's important to keep your training going, keep healthy, keep your lungs going, keep your stamina. You know, it's important. It's going to save your life, and it's going to save others and your fellow firefighters. If you can't save yourself in a situation, you know, you're not going to be able to help out your brothers and then, you know, a victim as well.
Absolutely. Well, listen, in my opinion, here at Seaside Heights Fire Department, the community has a phenomenal rescue team that trains, that's out here doing it, and that was proven today by just what I saw live firsthand. I know Chris is nodding behind the camera. He had a real good glimpse on the camera to see what was going on. But guys, I appreciate so much having PintheQ here.
It's an honor. Thank you.
And yeah, man, we're gonna take some photos and we're gonna be out of here.
Cool. Awesome. No worries.
All right, here we go.
Great.
PintheQ Podcast in Seaside Heights, New Jersey, the lands of sun and fun.